So you want to buy a house, but you're not sure where the best place is that you should buy, where the best bang for your buck in the more underlying areas that no one's talking about, but will have good return for you in the future. And when is the best time to jump in to make that purchase? Well, this video is going to solve both of those questions, so stay tuned. This one you don't want to miss. Why? Because I'm breaking down the top 5 suburbs in the entire Phoenix area that everyone is sleeping on right now and no one's talking about, that are set to explode in 2026. And why might this be a good time? Well, the monthly median home price in the entire Phoenix area has dropped $10,000 from $455 to $445 in just a matter of 2 months. That is a significant decline, although it's showing signs of flattening out. Typically, the seasonal trend will tell you that based upon supply and demand, the monthly median sales price typically will not rise in the later part of a given year because there are holidays coming up, there are things going on, and overall the market may stay fairly flat. Now, that all depends on interest rates, so stay tuned to see what the Federal Reserve does and see where the 30-year fixed mortgage rate ends up going here towards the end of the year, because if it does go down, there will be some movement on that median sales price. I am convinced of that, and there's much more data on that. In fact, every single Tuesday, I go live on this YouTube channel at 4 p.m. local time, and I break down all the housing data and development for the entire Phoenix area. You don't want to miss those. Go check out those on our live section of our YouTube channel. But overall, after a big run, Phoenix home prices are going down a little bit and overall stabilizing, and based upon how the economy is and interest rates will depend greatly on if it goes up at all the remainder of 2025 or 2026. But overall, economists do like the chances of the housing market going up for sure in 2026, primarily because of economic conditions. We all know that Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, his contract is up May of 2026, and there's no doubt that the current President Trump, will be replacing him, and he has made it very clear he wants rates to come down. So there are high odds that the rates will be coming down at least by May of 2026, and you combine that with all the local development, with Fortune 500 and 1,000 companies coming to the Phoenix area in droves and establishing divisions or headquarters of their company in the Phoenix area for a lot of obvious reasons. The local economy is set to take off for job growth in 2026 and beyond. And following that, well, these people, they need places to live. So housing should follow suit in a general given capacity. So now that we've established the why, you may want to look at purchasing sometime later on this year or the beginning part of next year before maybe things start going up in terms of the median home prices. Let's dive into the where, because again, these 5 places are underdogs in the housing market. This is the underdog that everyone's rooting for, and eventually they will become a mainstay and a player in the landscape of the greater Phoenix area. But before we dive into that, if you have any questions at all, real estate related, stop the video right now and give us a call, 480-660-5974. We have people reaching out to us literally on a daily basis, asking us everything that you could possibly imagine about the Phoenix area, and we absolutely love it. We are passionate about educating people on everything Phoenix. And we have a couple surprise gifts for you if you do that, because we have access to off-market properties and a vacant home list that no one else really does. So if you want access to those as well, give us a call. We'd be happy to chat with you about that. Now, as promised, let's jump into that top 5 list. Now, number 5 on the list, we're gonna start with number 5 because you know how we do it on Everything Phoenix. We count up and do that little drum roll for number 1. But number 5 is gonna be Casa Grande, Arizona. Now, if you look at the map right here, you'll see that Casa Grande is actually located a good amount of ways from the downtown Phoenix area. It is almost halfway between Phoenix and the second largest city in the entire state of Arizona, which is Tucson, Arizona. It makes it a hub for a lot of people to get to Phoenix or Tucson for work and still have incredible affordable housing by living in Casa Grande, as opposed to the nucleus or the attached areas of Phoenix and Tucson. Now let's jump into a couple stats about the Casa Grande area. The population currently is right around 69,000 people, and it has a couple anchor employers and expansions going on. Most notably is going to be Lucid Motors, the electric car manufacturer. They recently expanded to making SUVs as well. It's called the Gravity SUV, and that production began at the end of 2024. This is bringing another 6,000 jobs to the area when it's fully built out around 2028 or 2029. And another big one is going to be Kohler. You know, the manufacturer of the higher end bathroom finishes? Yeah, sinks, toilets and things of that nature, they have a big manufacturing plant right here in Casa Grande. They're ramping up hiring for as they continue to build this out. This is a 1 million square foot manufacturing facility. So Kohler, they're not playing around, and they're gonna be making some stuff right there in Casa Grande. So this is a big pull for a manufacturing employee base right here in Casa Grande. And last but not least is gonna be Chang Chung of Arizona. Now this is gonna be a semiconductor chemicals facility, and this actually broke ground in 2022, but it supports over 200 jobs in Casa Grande. You also have EcoBat, which is a lithium-ion battery recycling facility that supports over 60 jobs right there in Casa Grande. Now let's talk about housing for Casa Grande. Currently, the median home price sits at $320,000, and that's a negative 4.8% year-over-year decline in that value. There are currently 82 homes that have sold here recently, which is a negative 30% almost on a year-over-year. And the median days to sell a home in Casa Grande currently stand at 80. The takeaway for Casa Grande, well, in 2026, it is a EV and advanced materials engine of the Sun corridor between Phoenix and Tucson, which is a strong supplier for a ton of employees and jobs alike. Now, number 4 on the list is going to be Santan Valley. Well, where is that at? Well, if you look at the map, it is down in the Southeast Valley, just outside of Queen Creek, Arizona. This is a place that recently actually just filed for town status with the state of Arizona. It has been an unincorporated area for quite some time, but it's growing by leaps and bounds, and they just applied for that town status. Now, what's the difference between towns and cities in the state of Arizona? Well, not a whole lot, except town kind of gives it a little more small town feel as opposed to being named a city, and it also keeps you more restricted to following a lot of the rules and regulations of the state of Arizona, as opposed to having your own jurisdictions for a lot of things when it comes to zoning or how you vote for certain elected officials. So it gives you a little more flexibility when you're a city to do things how you want, as opposed to a town, because a town has a little more state regulations over it. But as a town, you still have some advantages because you don't have as much red tape, and you still have that small town feel. And that's exactly what Santan Valley has filed for here just recently. Now let's dive into some demographics of Santan Valley. Currently, the population sits at about 110,000 people. And the main employer in Santan Valley is going to be Banner Ironwood Medical Center, which anchors healthcare employment locally there. Now, Santan Valley is attached to Queen Creek, and so it piggybacks off what a lot of Queen Creek has to offer. So why you would live in Santan Valley over Queen Creek? Well, the housing overall is going to be a little bit cheaper, and that's the primary reason people will buy there as opposed to Queen Creek. It's very family oriented with a lot of activities for families going on in that area. And if you need to get to some commercial activity, well, Queen Creek is nearby for you to drive shortly to. Now, because of the growth that this whole area is experiencing right now, in particular Santan Valley, the state of Arizona has come up with a transportation plan that they'll be putting in place. They already have the SR State Route 24 already going in, with parts of that already done. It is going to continue out to Ironwood Drive, which will help the flow from the 202 out to Ironwood Drive and down into Queen Creek and Santan Valley. That is all positive stuff. But wait, there's more. The state also has a future plan for State Route 505, which is actually going to be a north-south highway that's going to connect the 60 interstate all the way down, cutting right through Santan Valley down to the I-10 by Eloy. And so the traffic now from the I-10 to the 60 can be fully connected, and all the population that's going to be coming in and living from Mesa to Queen Creek to Santan Valley down to Eloy will now have a much better transportation path to get north and south, as opposed to everything currently going east-west when it comes to state routes or interstate. So this transportation is going to be huge, having this infrastructure when you purchase a property to live in Santan Valley, because you can still get real good value and be able to move north and south. Okay, speaking of housing, let's talk housing in Santan Valley. There have been 234 homes that have sold here recently for an increase of about 10% year over year. That is good. More demand heading down to Santan Valley because of pricing. But overall pricing, the median home price is at $417,000, which actually is not terribly cheap, but much cheaper than the median home price overall in Phoenix, currently at $445,000. And that median home price actually jumped up 4.1% year over year from last year. And it only takes 70 days to sell a house in Santan Valley, so that is good too. So a lot of great things happening for Santan Valley with the incorporation of it being a town in the near future, and the transportation and logistical issues will make living there much more convenient, attached to the major Phoenix area. One more reason you may want to consider Santan Valley for that next place you want to live. Number 3 on the list is going to be actually moving to the opposite side of the Phoenix area, up in the northwest section of the Phoenix area, and this is Wittman, Arizona. And if you look at the map, it is a solid 45-minute drive or so into downtown Phoenix or Sky Harbor Airport from Whitman. And it currently is a small rural area that has a lot of big lots and open space. Think being a cowboy in the western part of the United States, in the desert, when it's hot outside, that's Whitman, Arizona. But this place where you can get a decent value and a lot of land is starting to change because people are recognizing that it's not that far away in the grand scheme of things, and there's some value to be had out there. Let's talk infrastructure. The Arizona Department of Transportation actually have improvements scheduled on the docket from the US 60 to the Loop 303 down the 163rd Avenue, with construction starting this summer in 2025. So that is good, but speaking of transportation, there's actually some improvements happening on the rail system. That's right, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad actually has a proposed multi-thousand acre intermodal logistics hub near Whitman, which consists of about 1,770 acres. This place is huge for just the intermodal, as well as another 1,400 acres for the logistics park and another 1,100 acres for the logistics center. So the scale of this project is enormous, and if this is approved, well, this is a transformational freight jobs node for the years of 2026 all the way in 2030, bringing high paying and a ton of jobs to the Whitman area. Now let's talk housing in Whitman. Right now, there's not a ton of variety in Whitman. Whitman is known for no HOAs, larger lots, and big properties, and sprawling ranches from that standpoint, which all sound great. But because of that, overall, the median home price is just not terribly cheap, standing at $450,000. So you say, why is that so much when you're out a little bit further than some of these other places? Well, it's because you get a lot of land with most properties in Whitman and no HOA. Known for its sprawling ranches, this is a great place if you want to just spread your wings in the desert and create your own private lifestyle. So the big takeaway for Whitman in 2026 is going to be that it is a classic optionality play. Currently, today, it's a tiny base population, but a green light of this BNSF roadway and railway project, all these upgrades would rapidly pull in logistics, warehousing, and a ton of housing will follow. The next on the list is going to be number 2, the city of Maricopa. That's right, we're not talking about the county of Maricopa, which is pretty much the entire Phoenix area. We're talking about the city of Maricopa, which is actually located in Pinal County, not Maricopa County. This is weird, I know. Why they did it, I have no clue. Probably just to confuse you, but it's okay because you're watching Everything Phoenix, and on these videos, we educate you so you are fully informed. The city of Maricopa on the map here sits south of the greater Phoenix area, but it's not that far from being attached to South Phoenix or the East Valley where Chandler currently sits. And being located just off of State Route 347, it flows pretty well up into Phoenix from Maricopa. So again, it's a value play for most people who want cheaper, more affordable housing because they want a lot of space, maybe a bigger house they can't afford living in Chandler or South Phoenix or in Albuquerque, so they go to Maricopa and they commute to work up in the Phoenix area. The population of Maricopa currently stands at about 77,000 people with a median age of 38 years old and an average household income of about $83,000 per year. There's some major employers in the Maricopa County area, including Harrah's Auction Casino, Maricopa USD, Volkswagen, and Nissan Proving Grounds. But there's also the city of Maricopa and Walmart providing a strong nucleus of employment opportunities. Now let's talk about new development and what is attracting more and more people to Maricopa. Currently you have the Australia Gin Business Park, which is finally scaling. This is a 123,000 square foot expansion for light industrial, office, and retail, and the Maricopa Flex Center plan. All this happening in 2025. You also have a lot of semiconductor and EV spillover from all the manufacturing happening around the Maricopa area, which includes Intel in Chandler and Lucid Motors nearby in Casa Grande. And don't forget the auto industry with Volkswagen and Nissan having R&D manufacturing ecosystems for suppliers and services just nearby also. Let's talk housing in Maricopa, currently at 124 homes sell here recently with a median sales price of $358,150, which is actually up about 1% year over year. And talking about supply, the average time it takes is about 81 days to sell a home in Maricopa. Now, I think the key takeaway for Maricopa is going to be the fact that more light industrial suites will be delivered, and this will continue to create job growth in the area. Furthermore, for people who want to be connected maybe more or closer more to the Phoenix area, but also want to work at Lucid Motors and some of these other manufacturing places around this area, they will choose Maricopa and maybe pay a little bit more on the housing price for convenience. And this is transitioning Maricopa from a bedroom community into a major player in 2026. Number 1 on the list, well, we gotta have the drum roll, is gonna be Coolidge, Arizona. Now, if you look at the map, this is located in Pinal County. Running theme here, I call it the smile that goes from Coolidge and Florence all the way over to Casa Grande and over to Maricopa County. This is the smile of Pinal County, and the growth is going to continue to be hammering this area because of all the job employment opportunities that never existed just a decade ago that are pouring into this area. So population growth will come with it, and Coolidge will be at the epicenter of that. Currently, the population of Coolidge is only about 20,000 people. It is a younger city with a median age of about 34 years old and has a lot of recent growth because even though it sounds small, about 20,000 people, that is a lot more than it had just a decade ago. Now, here are just some of the reasons why Coolidge is heating up. Procter & Gamble, yeah, you heard of them. It's a huge company. Well, they're building a $500 million fabric care plant on 427 acres on the Inland Port, Arizona project, targeting about 500 jobs, and that's ramping up right now as we speak. Speaking of that Inland Port, Arizona project, this is served by rail line currently, and it's a mega-size 2,700 acre site, and it's positioning Coolidge for logistics and advanced manufacturing leading into the next several years. And in that same project, you have Nikola Manufacturing Company, which actually just got bought out and acquired by Lucid Motors, so that they'll continue the employee base that's there after Nikola actually filed bankruptcy. But this is applying well over 300 people with high-paying manufacturing jobs right there in Coolidge. And let's talk about housing because it's not that expensive to live in Coolidge. Are you ready for this? 38 homes sold here recently, and that's a 35% jump year over year, with a median home price of only $287,000, and that's actually going up at about 3.8% year over year. So while housing in Coolidge is actually going up a little bit in a market that's not so great, the price of the average home in Coolidge is extremely affordable, and as this population continues to grow and more job opportunities recognize Coolidge and continue to pour into this area, housing, well, it's going to follow and demand will increase. Prices will eventually start increasing even more than they already are. So the takeaway for 2026 for Coolidge is going to be that Procter & Gamble, along with the Inland Port Arizona project, is going to give Coolidge a solid, long horizon employment base in logistics and consumer goods manufacturing with, again, more spillover from the EV manufacturing as well. So whether or not you're looking to take advantage of a future appreciation in your real estate because you want to move and live there or buy an investment property, either way, it's going to be hard to go wrong in any of these 5 places that are up and coming for 2026. Hope you truly enjoyed this video of the up and coming places around the Phoenix area that no one's really talking about, but now you are fully informed. Make that decision, jump in, get in the game, because 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, you will thank me for doing so. Because remember, no one, and I mean no one, has ever said, I wish I wouldn't have bought that house I purchased 10 years ago. Because 10 years plus will cover up any market cycle that isn't so hot in the short term, and the long term real estate, well, you always win. Give us a call, 480-660-5974. I would love to chat with you about any questions you have about these areas or any other areas around Phoenix. And if you want to see the place that I would choose to live right now in 2025 in Phoenix, click on the video on the screen next.